program. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Clobberin Times Comic Book Roundtable here on Loki's Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me today is the one and only Classic Comics. How are you doing, brother?
Doing all right, man.
I don't know where 24/7 is. I haven't talked to him. Mark D with a C will not be with us this week, and the other Mark has retired. So, congratulations, Mark, going off in the unknown to do some recon for all of us to figure out what the hell is wrong with comic shops. Thank you, Mark. The infinitely tired. And so we are going to talk about Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, 160 to 162. Today, this was your idea. So why did we do this one?
Well, the reason I picked this storyline is because this is the storyline that really sold me on Marvel Comics as a kid and made me a Marvel fan, because I was mostly reading DC up to this point. And when I read this, this in the next couple of issues, I was just blown away by it, because the art and just every facet of it, the art, the writing, the characterization, the drama, and everything, it just seems so much better than what DC was doing. This was, I think, 78, I think, is when this is published. And DC just didn't really seem to have anything that would compete with this. And that made me pretty much converted me to largely a Marvel fan for several years, up until I guess maybe Crisis on Infinite Earths, and after that I kind of moved back to DC.
So what's the story here? I mean, we start off, looks like, the Mighty Avengers. You've got Thor and Cap and Iron Man flying off, and you've got a group right here. Looks like Black Panther, Vision, Beast. That would be Scarlet Witch. And who is this off to the left?
That's Wonder Man.
Wonderman. Wunderman. Wunderman.
So now, of course, this is 160. Now, between 159 and 160, there was an annual that had the Wizard in it, who's that's the character Iron Man's carrying. And I mean, it doesn't matter. The story isn't important to this, so it doesn't really matter. But then in the previous issue, 159, they fought a villain named Graviton. So that's kind of what they're just coming back from. And then I guess, the mainstays of the group are all leaving.
While the Beast expression is that of one lost in memory. Because, of course, you've got the X-Men sitting here. He recalls another team in another time. You've got Angel. You've got, what is that, Havoc? Looks like Havoc.
Yeah, that's Havoc.
Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Professor X, Beast. Yeah, that's Beast, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Beast in the Avengers, he, at times he felt like because in the X-Men, he was like the strong man of the group in the early days. But on the Avengers, he's really kind of he's not anywhere close to being the strongest guy, and is really more there as comedy relief more than anything else. And he kind of has a crisis of confidence from time to time, feeling like he's kind of an also ran on the team.
So they kind of treat him like the 90s animated series did. Because, I mean, Beast was kind of like funny in his own weird cerebral way.
Yeah.
He'd start quoting Hawthorne or when he was in prison. That's what I thought was so funny, was when he was in prison. And he's like, "No, I will get out of here, gentlemen." He had like a whole shelf of books.
But
his own little library.
Even then on the X-Men, he was kind of like the brains of the outfit too, in a way. He was like really smart, but on the Avengers, he's around Tony Stark and Hank Pym, who are these geniuses, So even in that sense, he's kind of like feels kind of insignificant.
So he's not really the best at anything in the Avengers.
No.
So why is Reaper here? Why is the Grim? Do you fear the Grim Reaper?
Yeah, so this character, the Grim Reaper, this is Eric Williams, who is Wonder Man's brother. And, for those, I'm assuming most probably know, but those who don't, so in Avengers number 9, one of the very early issues, Baron Zemo, one of the Avengers' enemies, gave Wonder Man powers. And then it was the whole thing of, he would join the Avengers and pretend to be their friend and then lure them into a trap so that Zemo and some other villains could kill the Avengers. But in the end, he didn't go through with it, and he sided with the Avengers. So Zemo shot him with a kind of ray gun, and it seemed to have killed him. And so for many years, he was believed to be dead. And then,
of course, they're going to bring him back, though.
Right. Well, I imagine at the time it happened, it probably was intended that he would be dead, because it did take them a long time. Because again, it was Avengers number 9 where he seemingly died, and then Avengers 150 when he came back. So they'd gone through several writers between then and then, the original story. But Eric Williams always blamed the Avengers for his brother's seeming death, and had previously in the past tried to get revenge on the Avengers in various ways. But now his brother is seemingly back alive again, and he's here to determine if this guy is really his brother or not.
Well, I mean, it looks great. It reads great. Merely in a death-like coma from which only I can awaken. I love that. That is so villain. That is villainy in its best. She is not dead, merely in a death-like coma. Oh, I love the old black hat, white hat dialogue that they used to do. So yeah, you can call it cheesy, you can call it whatever it is, but there was always that twirling mustache aspect of the villain that always got me. Always loved that.
Yeah, and the Reaper's dialogue is, it's really good. It's like classic sort of evil villain type stuff. He's just ranting and raving.
Well, like right here, he gets the one up. That's Vision, right?
Yeah.
Synthesoid destruction, and I can hurt you. So he can hurt Vision. I am prepared to deal with you.
Mm-hmm. And of course, he says, "I've learned every detail of your synthesoid construction." And that's kind of actually a bit of a hint, foreshadowing of what's to come.
And you got the team right there. Oh, so he's gonna put him. He's gonna put him in court. He's gonna try him for what? The death of his brother.
Yeah, kind of a mock trial.
So when did you read this for the first time?
Well, when it was published, when I was a kid, so like I say, I think it's 78. Let me check here.
That would have been just a tad before my time.
No, actually, 1977. 1977. So I would have been, I guess, 9 years old when I read this.
So Vision and Scarlet are married.
Yeah.
Oh, he says his brother would never marry a stinking mutant. Oh, look. See, this is what people wanted in WandaVision. People wanted Scarlet and Vision. That's what they wanted. It was that simple. You couldn't give us that, though, could you?
Yeah, and one of the really compelling things they were doing at the time was they were kind of building up kind of a triangle between Scarlet Witch and Vision and Wonder Man, because the Vision has been, and they'll talk about this later, but Wonder Man, when when the Vision was created or programmed, Ultron, who was responsible, used basically the brainwave patterns of Wonder Man to do it. So in a sense, he's kind of Wonder Man too. He's Eric Williams, or he is Simon Williams too, in a way.
Do they go into more detail about that?
I mean, not into great detail, no. And like I say, they're just starting to set this stuff up. It'll come into play kind of in the coming years. They actually just not in the last issue, but the issue before that, they actually had Vision and Wonder Man get into a big fight. And it started because Vision basically kind of got jealous and kind of felt like Wonder Man was kind of moving in on his wife, honestly.
All right, so here is here's what we're going to start with. This is what we are going to start with, but we decided to go over 180 or 160 first before we got to 161. We're making our way to 162. Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes attacked by the Ant-Man. The most bizarre battle ever. Why did we not get something like this? Oh my God, she's covered in ants. That's disgusting. Why did we not get something like this in the movies? What would have been wrong with this? So why is the Ant-Man guarding Tony Stark's mansion?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that right off because that kind of gets revealed in the story. That'll kind of come to light eventually. And here we see Wonder Man. His costume was destroyed in the last issue, so he's now received a new outfit, which he says the Beast designed for him.
Made it just for him.
And he'll have this costume for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, maybe a little more, and then he'll go to that look with the red jacket that he'll have for quite a while.
So right here he's saying, what? Yellow Jacket? He thinks that Ant-Man's Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, and so Ant-Man confronts them, and because most of these people he doesn't recognize, and what you realize is he's kind of lost his memories from going back to basically the very beginning of the Avengers. Like, he doesn't even know Cap, and he doesn't recognize Iron Man because it's a different set of armor, and all the other people are different. So he's like, who are you people, and what are you doing in here? And they try to kind of talk him down, but he's just kind of, he's extremely paranoid. He's really kind of off his rocker here.
Well, yeah, that's the way it's reading. I mean, he thinks everybody's strangers, apparently. You can drop the weird yellow voice bit. Special effects don't impress me. I want to know who you are and what your business is here. Same with the chick in the swimsuit. The guy in this. So he just doesn't recognize anybody. He's ready to throw down, go to work. He blasts apparently Iron Man in the face with what? Ant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Through the eye slits.
Yeah.
He's going to go after Captain America. And he obviously goes after Wanda. How does the Ant-Man of all people take out Iron Man, Cap, Wanda Maximoff? Who else? I mean, it's just, this is nuts.
And it shows how, with the right writer, even characters with powers that are kind of goofy, can be formidable if they're written well.
You've got the Hulk. You've got Beast and Black. That's Black Panther, right? Yeah. Vision's pissed and looking at the ants. Ant-Man just took out what? Beast, and who else was that?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. This is like almost, it's not exactly horror, but I mean, you could see like horror elements if they really went for it, which I know they couldn't back then because of comic book code, but this is some horror movie shit right here. You don't want all that on you eating away at you.
Right. Yeah, well, it does show, like I say, it's how under the right, at least under certain circumstances, Ant-Man can be pretty formidable.
So Wasp shows up and she's like, I can't let you do this. Thinks that she's turning on him. Because apparently he has no defense against the Wasp thing. He can take out the Hulk. He can take out Black Panther. He can take out Hank McCoy. He can do all this stuff, but he can't block the Wasp thing. To blow the ants out of my armor. Good luck, Tony. Don't worry about the ants. Without Hank directing their attack, they're harmless. Oh, I can imagine. His mind has finally snapped. Well, at least they're coming up with some kind of explanation for it.
And this is kind of building on stuff that had happened before, particularly when Hank Pym first became Yellow Jacket, because when he originally became Yellow Jacket, he actually kind of developed a split personality. And the Yellow Jacket was like another person. And he seemed to have eventually healed from that or gotten better. But in this story, we find out that no, he's actually still having mental problems. And, we kind of, as you see there, where he's smashing his equipment like he's frustrated and everything. And this is kind of part of a storyline that'll build over time about him, kind of like we talked about with the Beast. He kind of feels kind of overshadowed in the Avengers by like Cap and Iron Man and Thor and everybody. He feels kind of insignificant, and he becomes frustrated by that. And that, along with his mental instability, is part of it'll eventually kind of culminate in that storyline where he gets kicked out of the Avengers after he uh, he hits the Wasp.
Well, it looks like he's on the verge of that right there. And I think that's what they're leading up to is like he has this big uncontrollable rage fit. And then she's holding him, you know, like it's okay. You can throw a fit and act like, a dumbass. And to keep his interest, he seemed to respond. In fact, I thought the worst was over when he agreed to stay in the Avengers with me as Yellow Jacket, right?
Yeah.
So she had this outfit made to keep him interested.
It would keep me interested.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say so. How about you guys out there listening to this? Would that keep you interested? Let us know in the comments. Would the Wasp dressed up like that keep you interested? I would hope so. He was gone and the place was in ruins.
Yeah, so she came home and found his lab in a wreck, and he was gone. And of course, the presumption is that he just snapped. He just kind of lost his mind.
Well, he's not in the Yellow Jacket stuff anymore, though. He's in the Ant-Man outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, presumably he's had some kind of psychotic break, one assumes.
It's always before a wedding. It's always before a wedding. Something always happens. If you're male, human, and awake, yes, that outfit. But that always seems to happen before something, big happens. Always before a wedding. And of course, she's going to have to deal with her fears and, oh God, no, not you. Ah. So who got her? Meanwhile, back at Avengers Mansion. Turn it off. His nipples are smoking.
Yeah, they're basically like giving him like electroshock therapy, and they're like frying his brain.
Look at his eyes, still lost, dazed, confused. He's dazed and confused. They must have hit him with the good stuff. I can't imagine, I could see looking at all this when I was a kid, but I can't imagine reading it when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
So what we got here is Hawkeye's working at this dude ranch out west. Now back, let's see, so this is 150. So back in, I think, the 140s, or maybe it was early 150s, mid 150s, they had a time travel story. And some of the Avengers went back in time to the Old West, and they met some of the Marvel Western characters like Two Gun Kid, Rawhide Kid, and like that. And Two Gun Kid actually came into the future with them. And so now he and Hawkeye are working at this dude ranch and are kind of becoming buddies.
That makes perfect sense. Working at a dude ranch. Can I buy you a soda in the saloon? Why not? Meanwhile, back in the halls of justice. Sorry, wrong IP. So
Yeah,
he's
now-
just like lost it. He's just sitting there, kind of just.
Yeah. Now, they decided to have the Wasp or Jan go back to their home and get some personal stuff to maybe jog his memory. And the Beast was driving her back to the house. And then Beast staggers in saying, "He's got Jan, he's coming."
And that apparently wakes up Ant-Man, who slams through the ceiling.
No, that's Ultron doing that.
Oh, that's Ultron.
Yeah, we get the big reveal. It's Ultron who's behind this.
You gape at me, yet you are silent, Avengers. There not a one among you who dares speak the name Ultron. Why is it I'm picturing him with like a Unicron voice? Welcome, Megatron.
Actually, I imagine him having a voice more like Starscream. That's kind of a shrill voice.
Astro Train. Yeah. I can't do that. Not anymore. I used to be able to all the time. Can't do it anymore. My voice is like, no. Would seem to be far less remarkable feat for a machine who never truly lived. So he's like, I'm gonna rub it in. I'm not just gonna come and show up and take y'all out. I'm gonna rub dirt in every wound. And we shall stop you again and again, maniac. So for those who don't know, no, Tony Stark did not create Ultron. At least not the way you think.
Right. In the comics, it was actually Hank Pym who created Ultron, not Tony.
Yeah. I know every detail of your construction, for I am he who gave you your synthetic life. I've armed myself to redeem that error.
Which kind of mirrors that line that the Grim Reaper had, where he said, "I know every detail of your construction." And I think later Ultron's going to say basically that the Grim Reaper was working for him, in essence. He's the one who kind of gave him some of the technology, like those shock collars and stuff like that.
He's just not having it, is he? So they're going to go at it. Stark's going to fight him. They're going to fight him. Is that Cap getting shot in the mouth?
No, that's Wonder Man.
No, that's Wonder Man. Okay. He got shot in like the chin. That looks like Beast. Beast gets shot in the mouth?
Well, in the brain, to be more specific. Which this is a weapon that Ultron calls his encephalo ray.
So Scarlet Witch is gonna throw down. She's pissed. She's calling him a murderer. She's had enough. And he apparently screes her. Scree.
Yeah, and she's and of course at this point Ultron is made of adamantium, so he's basically indestructible. but her power is still able to affect him, and she causes him to have some kind of random malfunction. And presumably she could destroy him if she were able to sustain it.
Now, didn't they do that for one of the Ultrons in the movie Age of Ultron? They made him adamantium, or did they make a vibranium?
He was vibranium.
He was made of, yeah, okay. Strong, but not adamantium strong.
Right. And so he zaps Cap with the encephalo ray, and then he gets Scarlet Witch as well.
So now Ant-Man joined the fight and is like, I'm Ant-Man. Don't you know who I am? And he's not having it.
And actually, go back a sec. Go back up a bit. And so he captures Ant-Man, and he has that line, "Thus you are mine, Father," because he considers, since Henry Pym created him, he thinks of Henry Pym in essence as being his father.
I don't like the way he talked about Tony. I don't know why they messed that movie up so bad. It doesn't make any sense. They could have made it a lot better. But they had to screw it up. The next issue, The Bride of Ultron. They're all left laying. How many times in comic books have we seen this or something similar to this, where you've got your heroes laying on the battlefield, completely taken out, and it's like, next week, find out what happens to our heroes. Will they live or die in the Avengers? The Bride of Ultron. Okay, now we get to the meat and potatoes of this. This is all why we showed up. The showdown with Ultron. The Avengers at war with the most indestructible, unstoppable menace of all, the Bride of Ultron. Oh, wow, look, it's Thor. Where is the banner? We need his help. Yeah, okay. Artist formerly known as Ship Armor says, Batman. Kronos, I'm Superman. Bride? Yes, Bride. Kronos wants to know where Wonder Woman is. Do you want to tell him, or should I?
She's not in this.
She's not in this at all. She's not in the IP at all. So Thor thanks him, apparently thanking the medical crew for picking them up. How did Thor get him? I guess it doesn't. Seconds later, so he drops them off and then goes back.
Now the ones, most of the other Avengers who are believed to be dead at this point, all the ones who were shot with that encephalo ray, except for Wonder Man, who seems to have survived it.
Okay. Were slain by Ultron's encephalo beam. So Thor's talking about going out and dying on his shield. Ultron's got Pym and daddy issues. God help me.
And so Ultron gives Ant-Man a bunch of BS, basically saying that the Avengers are his enemies, and and Ultron is trying to help save the Wasp. But the Wasp is dying. It's the Avengers' fault, and he has a way to save her, but they have to temporarily shift her consciousness into this other robot body
Of
so
course.
that her human body can heal or can be saved. Of course, what Ultron's not saying is he has no intention of putting her brain back into her own body or her own consciousness. He plans to do this permanently. And he's going to make this other robot his bride.
He just wants Wasp. I mean, can you blame him? I can't blame him. So he's going to transfer her mind over to this new robotic body. That robotic body looks very shiny. It also looks kind of like Giger's work in a way. It's got some Giger look to it. If anybody knows who that is, he's not a comic book guy. He's a horror guy. Well, he's kind of a horror guy. He's an artist guy. Still. If it was Giger's work, she'd have an extra appendage down there somewhere. So is he gonna do it? Is he gonna make it?
Well, Ant-Man agrees to the process, so he starts getting the machines going to shift her consciousness into that android body.
Meanwhile, Hawkeye isn't doing dick. He's playing cards. Yep, H.R. Geiger is also allergic to margins. That's true, too. If you know his work, you know. If you know, you know. So he gets a phone call. Celebrate Kirby. Draws Rawhide. Of course, they're talking about comics. So they pretty much put him in his own little comic here. And he's talking about Kirby.
Yeah.
First name wouldn't happen to be Jack, would it? By Odin's bid. What new madness is this? I love it. I love it. Thank you for keeping Thor Thor.
And I love this exchange between Wonder Man and Thor here.
Took us hours on the phone to trace him to that crazy dude ranch where he's working, and we still can't get through to him. Is he worthy of all this grief? When thou hast proven thyself 1,000-fold, thou mayest question the worth of Hawkeye, my friend. I will disregard thy careless remark this time. Yeah. He's like, is this even worth it? Is this even worth trying to get a hold of this guy considering what's going on? And Thor's like, yeah.
Yeah, Thor's like, dude, you got here yesterday. You don't even know what you're talking about. Shut up.
You got a nice little thing with Iron Man and Black Panther.
And Black Panther kind of guesses at what's going on here. He kind of puts two and two together and realizes that Ultron has an Oedipus complex.
Yep. Oh yeah, he could want her for that. Look at what he's got. I mean, she's practically butt naked, laying next to a metal butt naked chick. At last, I will have a mate. Why does he want a mate? He's a robot.
Because he's insane. And also, I think because just he hates Hank Pym and just wants to torment him and ruin his life.
Oh, so it worked.
And it's starting to.
She lives. It's alive. Alive. Janet Pym is becoming a robotic woman fit to be my bride, my queen. Get back to work. What? Why do you? Oh, he's ready to kill Pym. He's like, give me 5 seconds and I'll take you out. Soon as all this is over, that's it. And she's fighting it. Of course, she's fighting it. And what's worse is he's got Ant-Man doing all the dirty work for him.
Mhm. And I will admit, as much as I love the story, Ant-Man really does fall for all of this really easily. He doesn't really stop to question. But I just kind of put that down to Ultron having screwed with his mind.
Ants. Oh no, more ants. Yeah, we don't want more ants. Odin's blood.
Yeah, and the ants write out Stark LI on the floor. And Iron Man and Black Panther both realize that it means Stark Long Island, and Iron Man says that Stark Industries has an old aerospace research center on Long Island that was shut down years ago.
Didn't
And they
they? Didn't
realize,
they? Doesn't anybody turn off the power anymore? Doesn't anybody like throw the switch? I mean, come on, you get that bill after a month. You're like, $5,000 electric bill at the warehouse and blah blah blah. I thought I shut that down. Oh well, the villains moved in, sir. Ugh. You would think they would have shut it down. Please, please, my love, stop. Brooches. Oh, Panther's there. You could have slipped past my Sentinel devices undetected, but you are a fool to come here alone. He is not alone, monster. Of course, Thor's there, and he's brought Mjolnir. Not by a long shot.
and so go back up to where Wonder Man comes in. So
Okay.
Wonder Man crashes in, and Ultron says that, you were struck by my encephalo ray. You should be in a coma. And that's when they realize that the people he shot in the previous issue, they're not dead. They're actually just kind of in stasis. And he says, they will die within hours unless the coma effect is reversed.
You now know you will die before you can save them. Why is he still working he pretty much knows that shut up and get rid of him while I finish the transfer.
Yeah, he just never really stops to question anything. He just goes along with it every step of the way. Like I say, I kind of chalk that up to have Ultron having manipulated his mind, and presumably he's done something to him to make him more obedient, I guess.
Making American Patriots pad says, Loki, you were just upset that Loki didn't show up and start slapping Ultron around with his wings to beat the bad guy and show up the Avengers. Probably. I am probably upset about that.
And the Black Panther says, well, wait a minute, because Ant-Man's saying, Ultron stop them, and he's kind of like, well, wait a minute, if Ant-Man still wants to stop us, then who sent the ants?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a really good question. Who the hell sent the ants?
So he uses the encephalo ray again. He tries to use it on Thor. Iron Man throws himself in front of it and takes the hit. But fortunately, the armor protects him and he's not affected by it.
How does the armor protect him? I'm just to stop asking questions. My armor is ready for you, Ultron. Okay. So he's going to beat the shit out of Thor and Wonder Man.
And Black Panther tries to reason with Ant-Man, but he won't listen, and he locks the controls on this machine so that the Avengers can't deactivate it or reverse the process. So now there's nothing that can stop it.
Oh, well, that's great. And Black Panther just took out Hank. Wonder Man doesn't know what the hell's going on. There's a hammer getting thrown. It's down to just Thor and Wonder Man.
And Iron Man goes over to try and stop the machine, but the controls are locked. And there's like a code, a access code they need in order to access the machine and stop the process. And presumably the only ones who know it, though, are Ultron and Ant-Man. Ant-Man's unconscious, and Ultron's not going to tell them, at least not willingly.
So Wonder Man deceived Ultron and got him to grapple with him.
Well, he says, I sense hesitation on your part. And so Wonder Man's actually, and this is one of the things I loved and that made me like this book so much, is that Wonder Man's actually terrified. He's actually really worried about being killed again because he's been dead once already, and he's really afraid of dying again. Which is interesting because he's actually one of the most powerful characters, and I always found that just kind of a really interesting idea.
Well, he obviously doesn't want Iron Man to do something. Oh, he's got her. He's got her.
And so,
Destroy her and the Wasp dies too. Maybe I'll chance it. This thing isn't Jan. And it isn't made of adamantium like you are. And he's like, surely you're not going to. And oh, yes, he is. No, do not harm my woman. I will tell you what you wish. Well, if you hadn't said anything, you might have got to keep your woman. Minutes later, you will pay dealers for this victory. Avengers, why is he leaving? How's he getting away? Oh, 70s and 80s. The bad guy always gets away. Now knows what must be done to save her. Now, this well, Avenger. We will talk later. He doesn't get it. God, Hank, get your shit together. So they get her out. She makes it. She doesn't have to be the Bride of Ultron. But I love that. I love that setup. Why do I love that setup? Because it reminds me of the old black and white serials that they used to do. And it reminds me of Chaotica. Bride of Chaotica.
And after they've managed to reverse the process and restore her, of course, they then assume she must have sent the ants. But she says, because she's got this cybernetic collar she used to control ants, and they took that from her, so she didn't have it. So she's like, I didn't do it. And it's obvious Hank didn't do it. So who did it?
Thing that wasn't really Jan. But in her brief, half living existence, perhaps she was more human, more like Jan than even Ultron suspected. Jan's plight, someone with sophisticated cybernetic circuitry at hand, capable of projecting a thought impulse to nearby insects. I wonder. So was it her? Was it the Bride of Ultron? Oh no, out there talking about Loki. Death to the demigod.
And eventually, a while down the line, this robot who eventually would be named Jocasta, she would actually join the Avengers herself.
All right. Well, get her on the Avengers. Get her on the team. Sign her up. We need more like her. Holy crap. Okay. So, what are we going to do next week? I'm not sure yet. I got to sit down with Mark D with the C and Classic and 24 and see what we are going to do. I know we've got Mark D with C every other week. Are we going to fill Mark D Infinitely Tired spot? I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll talk about it. I know it's got to be like a 3/4 decision from everybody. So, Clobby hated that, but I'm still going to do it because I want to make sure everybody's cool with who they're streaming with. But we will be back with more comic book goodness next week. I want to thank everybody. I want a big thank you to Classic for coming up with this idea of doing this type of episode. Obviously, I love it. A lot of these I've only read once or I've never read. So it's always good to learn a little bit more and hear a story from ages past. It happened long ago in a comic book in the 70s. What do you got coming up, brother? What do you got coming up? What do you got to tell everybody? What kind of shows, what kind of videos, uploads? What do you got going?
Okay. Well, I just did on my Trek Talk live streams, which I do on Tuesdays. I just did Operation Annihilate yesterday, which is the final episode of the first season.
Cool.
So next Tuesday, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a tier ranking for all the first season episodes. I think that'll be fun. I also just at the end of last week put out a video about my top five. The top 5 Marvel villains I think would be the best opponents for Batman. And I hope to do a series of those. So maybe we'll do one with Superman here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. I normally live stream on Sundays, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be with my National Guard unit this weekend. So probably won't do anything else until that Trek Talk next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Well, keep doing what you do, brother. Loving the stuff you're doing. Keep kicking ass. Keep taking names. Guys, come on back next week. We will be back with another comic book. Got to figure out what it is first, but it will be fun. I've got a couple of good ideas. If we throw some numbers into the hat and see what comes up. I always like McFarlane. I know Kwame didn't like McFarlane very much, but I've always liked McFarlane.
Yeah, he wasn't a big fan of the 90s stuff.
No, unfortunately not. I was a big fan of the 90s stuff. So that's when everything started to go down the drain. Anyway, guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for sharing this comic book experience with us. Be great. Be excellent with each other. Always speak for an enter. We'll catch you on the next comic book roundtable. Maybe next week we'll have an OG intro or something. Guys, have a great one.
Good night, folks.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.